Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Today, we're going to talk about something called a roundabout. Okay, that's not a song by Yes, the band. Maybe you've heard of them. I'll be the roundabout. I'd love to sing that song today, but we're actually talking about roundabouts in terms of traffic circles.
I have not heard of that song, nor have I heard of that group, so...
You've never heard of Yes before?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. So we're going to talk about how this benefits people to have a roundabout, but also some of the downsides to it as well. Let's start by first reading through our article. Traffic without the stops, the magic of roundabouts. Have you ever seen a circular intersection where cars continuously flow in one direction around a central island? That is a roundabout, a well-known alternative to traditional intersections. Drivers enter and exit at different points without relying on traffic lights. Their primary purpose is to improve traffic flow and minimize the likelihood of high-speed collisions. Particularly dangerous T-bone and head-on crashes. Roundabouts have existed and been implemented for over a century. In the 1960s, the modern roundabout emerged in the UK with added rules for yielding. Unlike intersections with red lights, roundabouts allow vehicles to continue moving at a controlled pace, eliminating the stop-and-go patterns that cause congestion. From an environmental perspective, roundabouts offer significant advantages. Continuous movement means less fuel consumption, resulting in lower carbon emissions. In some cases, roundabouts have been shown to decrease fuel use by up to 30%, making them a practical choice for cities aiming to reduce their environmental footprint. Some roundabouts have become renowned landmarks, going beyond their practical transportation function. One of the most famous is Place Charles de Gaulle in Paris, France. This spectacular circular intersection surrounds a popular tourist attraction, the Arc de Triomphe, and connects 12 avenues. Another noted roundabout is Piccadilly Circus in London, UK. Though smaller, it is famous for its bright lights and colorful city life. These roundabouts are not just traffic solutions, but also cultural and historical symbols. Although roundabouts offer numerous advantages, constructing one requires significant space, and they may cause potential confusion for drivers unfamiliar with the system. Pedestrians may also find them harder to cross safely. Despite these challenges, roundabouts still remain a vital part of modern transportation planning because of their safety and efficiency.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Let's start to talk about the contents of today's lesson. And, of course, in order to listen to our lesson, you need to have gotten from home to school or something like that. So there's a good chance that you have gone through a roundabout somewhere in Taiwan, although I think they are fewer and far between these days. There just aren't very many of them. I can only think of two here in Taipei, the Renai Circle, and then the one kind of in the Datong area, the one that I think it's Jiancheng Circle. It used to be a big night market, but now I think it's a park.
So what's a roundabout? It's kind of a circular road. It's round, and the traffic moves around a central point, and they don't stop for traffic lights at all. There's some positives to it. I like that if you miss the turn, say you want to take a right turn off and you miss it, you get to keep going around until you make the right decision. There are a lot of them in the UK, and they kind of saved us a lot of times because I was with a friend and we'd miss some sort of turn off, and GPS would say, no. But instead of saying make a U-turn or 回转, it would just say keep going. You know, you'll run into that turn off another time. So they've saved us actually in the past as tourists. But this is if you drive a car. I'm sure the scooters, or the people who drive scooters or ride scooters, I should say, wouldn't like the roundabouts as much.
Probably not. And you did mention a point there. Roundabouts are not supposed to have traffic lights, but the Renai Circle has traffic lights. Otherwise, there'd probably be total chaos there. with all the different kinds of vehicles there are in Taiwan. So I've got a feeling that roundabouts probably wouldn't work so well in Taiwan as they do in the UK or other parts of the world. But let's talk about it anyway, and maybe some people who do city planning might change their minds. Who knows? So here,
I don't think that one then counts as a roundabout, right?
Which one?
The Dunhua and Renailu. That's in my neighborhood. And yeah, it does have stop traffic lights. So I don't think it counts. You have to have no traffic lights to have a real roundabout.
Exactly. To have the, well, let's see. The one in New York is called Columbus Circle or something. Does that have traffic lights on it?
I don't remember, and I lived there so long.
Okay.
I would say yes. The only real roundabouts I've ever been on personally were in the UK and in France.
Okay.
The Europeans love those things.
Well, they are showing up in small towns in the USA. I remember going through a town in Minnesota that had one. I was sort of surprised. What the heck is a traffic circle doing here in the middle of town? I almost missed it because I wasn't expecting it, but I guess they have started using them in small towns.
Do you know where there's a very small roundabout is out in Ugu? It's an industrial part of town. And I was surprised to see it out there, but there are no traffic lights. And so it is a true roundabout, although it's not as big as some of these we're going to talk about today.
Okay, it's been many years since I've been to Wugu. I've passed through there, of course, on the airport express train, but that's not really what we're talking about today. But we're beginning by asking a question. Have you ever seen a circular intersection where cars continuously flow in one direction around a central island? So yes, have you ever seen this? It's an intersection. That's where roads cross each other, an intersection, and it's circular, okay? It's not like an X. It's actually round. That's what circular means in the shape of a circle.
I wanted to mention, too, the way that it's written here, it sounds like you're talking about an island in the ocean or the sea, but we use this word sometimes to talk about something that's kind of detached from other things and is surrounded in some ways, and that's what this is. You could just say a central point or a central island.
Okay, so that's a question we're asking you. Have you ever seen this? I'm sure most people in Taiwan would answer yes to this question. Yes, I have seen such a structure, a circular intersection. The cars flow in one direction, and then, of course, the middle part is the island. That is a roundabout, a well-known alternative to traditional intersections. Okay, the word roundabout is Yuanhuan. I think that's used more in British English. In America, we tend to call them traffic circles or just circles, but I think the word roundabout is actually getting more and more common in the United States as well.
Yeah, I still call them roundabouts, and I'm an American. But yeah, so it's a type of intersection. An intersection is where a place where two roads cross each other. So sometimes you've got more roads than that crossing, but that's how we define intersection, where two or more roads cross. And usually there are traffic lights there. There's a crosswalk or a zebra crossing. I think that's the British. We don't use that in America. We just call it a crosswalk. But I have seen articles in Taiwan written with zebra crossing instead. But we just call it a crosswalk where pedestrians, people who are walking on foot, feel safe to cross the road.
Indeed, of course, safety is the most important thing, and their primary purpose, the purpose of these roundabouts, the main purpose, is to improve traffic flow and minimize the likelihood of high-speed collisions, particularly dangerous T-bone and head-on crashes. Okay, so that's why we have these roundabouts. They're going to improve traffic flow, so you're not going to be waiting at a stop sign for extra time. You can just go ahead and go through the intersection or go around the roundabout, and you'll be on your way in less time than it would take to actually stop at a red light. And yes, we want to minimize the likelihood of high-speed collisions. Likelihood is the possibility of something happening, and we want to have those possibilities as low as possible. These are high-speed collisions. Sometimes people jump the lights or they run the lights, and maybe they're going to hit somebody in the side. That's probably what a T-bone collision is. Collision, of course, is when something crashes into something else. They collide. That's the verb. The cars collided on the road. And yes, T-bone just means it's shaped like a T. They hit the car from the side or head-on, face-to-face.
Yeah, I have a T-bone intersection in my neighborhood, and I have personally seen someone on a motorcycle killed.
Oh,
so
no.
those are really dangerous. Usually there are people who are trying to beat the light. If you beat the traffic light, you're trying to turn on a yellow, almost red light. I see a lot of that, especially during rush hour. If the traffic isn't too heavy, people are always in a hurry.
Oh, no, the light has been red for like 4 or 5 seconds and people are still going through.
I know.
So, yeah.
It's frustrating. And what they did is they just made the light about 5 seconds longer so that people who are doing those left turns had more of a chance to make it out there without getting killed. But if you're a motorcycle and you're hit by a car, you're not going to do very well, even if you have the helmet. So be careful, guys.
Okay, so again, we talked about the advantages of roundabouts. Of course, they are going to reduce the likelihood of high-speed collisions, especially these kinds of collisions that are head-on, face-to-face, or T-bone ones from the side. There are other ones that are called fender benders, where you just kind of bump into the car in front of you. It might cause some problems. Maybe you'll have some neck pain or maybe even break your neck or something like that. But still, that usually is not as serious in such a situation. They just kind of bump each other lightly, although it could happen at higher speeds. You never quite know.
Well, roundabouts have been around for over a century. And in the 1960s, the modern roundabout, the ones we're used to seeing these days, actually emerged in the UK. They came up with it first. But they added rules for yielding. What's yielding? It means you give the right-of-way to other cars, or maybe you're giving the right-of-way to pedestrians. You let others go first, or as we say, I'm going to let them take the right-of-way. Oh, I have the right-of-way, which means I get to choose when to go. Someone else has to wait for me. But yielding is really important. It's also safer if you're not sure who has the right-of-way at, say, a four-stop intersection with just stop signs and no traffic lights. If I've forgotten the rule, and there's a rule in America, I know, if I've forgotten it, I just wait for others to go first rather than get into a situation where I smash into another car.
Yeah, you don't really have the four-way stop signs here in Taiwan, so that's probably something you're going to have to get used to if you drive in the USA or other places. And I did want to say that here we've got the word yielding. That's from the verb to yield. Rang is the word you use in Chinese.
Yeah.
In the United States, the signs will say yield, but I think in the UK, they'll be like give way or make way or something like that.
Give way, make way. Give way, but you know what? The other thing about the yield signs are usually yellow to try to get your attention.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on now, it says, unlike intersections with red lights, roundabouts allow vehicles to continue moving at a controlled pace, eliminating the stop-and-go patterns that cause congestion. So again, we're talking about regular intersections, but we're comparing these two. We're comparing a roundabout with a traditional intersection. So unlike intersections that have traffic lights or that have red lights, roundabouts, not like those regular intersections, allow vehicles to keep on moving, and it will be at a controlled pace. Not too fast, not too slow. Everybody knows the basic speed you need to go through a circle or through a roundabout. And that will eliminate the stop-and-go patterns that cause congestion. So as you know, if you're getting stuck in rush hour traffic in Taipei or Kaohsiung or wherever you happen to live, there's always this stop-and-go traffic. The car ahead of you moves a little bit, it stops, and you have to move, and you keep having to put on the brake and take it off the brake and push the accelerator and then put the brake on, the accelerator, the brake. You go back and forth. It really makes your foot tired.
Yeah, especially during holidays in Taiwan. We have a lot of stop-and-go traffic patterns. Congestion can be used with traffic just to mean there are too many cars or blocked. You can't go the speed you'd like to. But it can also refer to your nose and your chest. If you have a cold, your nose can be congested, or you might have congestion in your lungs. Yeah, nobody likes that kind of driving where it's stop and go. And from an environmental perspective, thinking about our planet and the air that we breathe, roundabouts offer significant advantages, or upside, you could say. If you keep moving continuously, that means you're not going to be consuming or using up so much fuel. Now, before we go forward and talk more about lowering our carbon emissions, we're going to take a quick break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是 Patrick. 今天讲解的是 Traffic without the stops. The Magic of Roundabouts。这个单元是文意选填的练习题，内容介绍的是圆环。听众朋友分布在台湾各个县市，那大家可以想想自己所在的县市里面有没有圆环。圆环应该算是很特殊的景象吧，不像一般的街道。那在台北的话，我们提到圆环，很多人会想到的就是仁爱，还有敦化南路口的圆环，也很常出现在台湾的影视作品里面。那这篇文章让我们进一步了解圆环的优缺点。我们在主题解说之前，老师要再次提醒大家，解题之前先看一下选项，把它们的词性标出来。有些字词性不止一种，不过根据句子结构，我们可以判断这一题空格要填什么样子的词性的单字，那你再用文意去筛选项就可以了。好，那我们来看到第一题，你是否看过一种圆形的路口？那很多车呢会绕着中央的这个岛不断的单向行驶。同学看到这里应该都知道，作者是在问读者到底有没有看过圆环。后面呢，作者继续说明，那就是圆环 roundabout。那这算是呢广为人知的传统十字路口的替代方案啊。那驾驶人他们会从不同的地点进出圆环啊，是不需要依赖交通号志的。好，接着就是我们的题干 Their primary purposes to。 好，题干的意思是说，圆环主要目的是要改善车流，并且空格高速碰撞的可能性，特别是危险的侧撞还有对撞事故。那因为 and 是对的连接词，前后必须要连接相同词性的词语。那前面 to improve traffic flow 是动词片语，所以后面呢也必须要是动词片语，而且要能够跟 likelihood 可能性来做词语搭配。因此我们选 C minimize 减少降低。第一题答案是 C， 圆环可以改善车流，尽可能呢降低高速碰撞的可能性。好，那我们紧接着看到第二题，在第二段。好，圆环存在已经超过1个世纪了，在1960年代，英国空格现代圆环增加了礼让的规则。题干的主要子句 The modern roundabout 没有主要动词啊，那我们要找一个动词补进去，我们考量文意的前后连贯，因此选 J emerged 出现。第二题正确答案是 J， 意思就是说现代圆环呢是出现在1960年代的英国。紧接着看第三题，有别于红绿灯的十字路口，圆环允许车辆以空格速度持续行驶，消除造成拥塞的走走停停。不定冠词 或者之后呢 pace 这个名词之前，我们可以放一个形容词来修饰，所以第三题的答案呢就选 G control 受控的。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Again, today we're talking about roundabouts or traffic circles or just circles. You'll probably hear those terms depending on where you are. And yes, indeed, why do we have them? Well, supposedly they're supposed to reduce congestion. You don't have to wait so long at an intersection. They may work in some places, they may not work in others. But now let's talk about environmental concerns. Okay, so from an environmental perspective, roundabouts offer significant advantages. Okay, so I guess they're good for the environment. Continuous movement means less fuel consumption, resulting in lower carbon emissions. So that's pretty important. You don't want to be burning so much fuel. You want to save fuel. And of course, you want to save money that way. And of course, this is something having to do with climate change. You want to reduce your carbon emissions. Emissions are what comes out of the exhaust pipe in your car. Global warming or climate change is debated. Some people accept it, some people don't. But I think we can all agree that we want to reduce our emissions, at least to reduce smoke pollution or air pollution.
Yeah, before people started talking about this climate change or global climate change, whatever, we used to have emission tests in America, and you'd have to take your car in and they'd check the exhaust pipe and to see how dirty that emissions was. We call it exhaust coming out from that pipe. it just makes the air dirty. And we know in Taiwan how we feel about our air. We want it to be clean. So regardless of whether you believe in climate change or not, we want clean air. And so that's important. And it can also help decrease fuel use. We talked about that before the break by up to 30%. Hey, that saves money. And everybody wants to have more spending money for fun things rather than just pay for gas or some sort of fuel. So using roundabouts makes a practical choice for cities aiming or who are targeting this type of goal to reduce their environmental footprint. Again, that has something to do with global climate change, but it just helps clean the air up a bit.
Right, so we both want to clean the air and we want to save money, so I guess roundabouts make a lot of sense. In that way, you might even save up to 30% of your fuel, so you'll save money at a gas station, the gas pump, or whatever. And here in the next paragraph it says, some roundabouts have become renowned landmarks, going beyond their practical transportation function. So if something is renowned, it is famous, it is noted, people know about it. And indeed, there are lots of roundabouts in the world that are famous. We'll get to some of them in just a second here, but I think most people know that the Ren'ai and Dunhua roundabout is kind of a landmark. It's got all these wonderful trees there. There's some kind of trees that blossom in the spring or something, and they turn white or something, so everybody knows about that.
It's pretty.
And, of course, we're going to talk about some other examples. I think the roundabout down in Tainan in front of the train station is pretty renowned. And there's another one, I think that's by the Literature Museum in Tainan. That's a pretty cool roundabout as well.
Yeah, nice. So we're going to talk about some really renowned landmarks. They're roundabouts. They happen to be in another area, though. We're going to talk about Europe right now. The first place is the Place Charles de Gaulle. It's located in Paris, France. Sometimes these roundabouts are not just practical or efficient. They're actually quite lovely or beautiful, and people consider them to be a tourist attraction. A landmark is something that is really beautiful in your city or your town, and people know about it. And this particular one is gorgeous. Get online if you haven't seen a picture of it. The Place Charles de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle is a former president of France. He's gone now. He's passed away. But this is a large circular plaza. It's in Paris. And we just were reading that 12 avenues are connected to this circle. This circle is huge. And so if you miss your turn and you have to go around, it's like 2, 3, 4 minutes as you go around. It's not quite as quick as some of the smaller roundabouts, but it's beautiful. You could call this place. This is pronounced place in French, but we say place if it's an official name. It just means a plaza, a square. You could also say plaza. They're both correct. But yeah, it's a beautiful roundabout. And what is in the middle is something called the Arc de Triomphe. The Arc de Triomphe, you can just say it like that if you want. It's really tall and very big, and it was built to honor soldiers from long ago. It's gorgeous. It looks like a big gate, I would say, in the middle of the road. And while you're having to go around that roundabout because you missed your turn, it's okay because it's beautiful.
Indeed. So it, of course, has become a popular tourist attraction. An attraction is something that people are attracted to. They want to go there. They want to see it. And, of course, Paris has got all sorts of different tourist attractions. Of course, the Arc de Triomphe or the Eiffel Tower or Notre Dame or whatever, those are all popular tourist attractions. And, yes, indeed, it connects 12 avenues. Now, another noted roundabout is Piccadilly Circus in London, UK. Now, I remember when I was a kid and my father told me about this place, I thought, oh, wow, I want to go there and see the trapeze artists and the horses and the jugglers and things like that. Well, yes, that's what a circus is, but this is special. This is a special meaning. A circus here just means a circus or an area that goes around a roundabout.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool. Piccadilly Circus is full of shops. It's kind of like, I don't know, what would we call it? Where do all the kids hang out? Ximending.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Ximending feel to it. It's very lively and fun. It's like Times Square in New York, but it's in a circle. But yeah, it's really kind of cool. Lots of beautiful lights. The buildings are beautiful there. It's smaller, but it's famous, again, for its bright lights and colorful city life. These roundabouts are not just traffic solutions, but they are cultural and historical symbols. Yeah, a lot of those buildings in Europe, and especially London, have been there for hundreds of years.
And, of course, there are lots of circles, say, in Barcelona and other cities in Europe as well. So if you're into circles or roundabouts, as we're calling them, you can see a lot of them in Europe as well, and probably in other countries as well. I don't know if they have them in Japan or Korea or places like that, but we're talking about the ones in France and the UK here. And although roundabouts offer numerous advantages, constructing one requires significant space, and they may cause potential confusion for drivers unfamiliar with the system. So yes, circles do take up more real estate or more land in a city. Intersections take up less space, and sometimes, of course, the space is very important for cities, and sometimes they actually get rid of roundabouts. Again, there used to be one on Dunhua and, was it Ren'ai, I think?
Zhongxiao Donglu.
Zhongxiao, yeah. Oh, no, not Zhongxiao. It was Badalu and Dunhua Beilu.
Oh.
There was one there before. I remember a statue of a sage in the middle of that intersection, but of course that roundabout is long gone because I thought, well, it's just slowing traffic down. It's not really helping things.
But that statue's still there, correct?
Oh, it is? No, I don't think so. I think it went
they
somewhere
took
else.
Everything out.
I think so. I don't know where that statue is now. But in any case, yes, they offer these advantages. And again, as I said, they take up a lot of space. And then you might be confused if you're driving in the circle, if you've never driven in one before or in the roundabout, because you're not familiar with how you're supposed to do it, when you're supposed to cut in, when you're supposed to signal, when can you change lanes and things like that. Those can be quite confusing.
One of the things I don't like about these roundabouts is having to cross the street if you're a pedestrian. There's no fast way. You kind of have to take the circular route, as we say. So it's kind of a pain that way, but it's safe at least, and that's important.
Okay, in the next sentence here it says, pedestrians may also find them harder to cross safely. A pedestrian, of course, is somebody who walks. And despite these challenges, even though we have these challenges, even though it might be difficult to drive through a roundabout or to cross the intersection if you're a pedestrian, roundabouts still remain a vital part of modern transportation planning because of their safety and efficiency. So you're still going to see them. They are efficient. They're vital. Vital just means it's very, very important. They're a vital, very important part of modern transportation planning. So when you're planning cities, you might be thinking about putting roundabouts in the city to ease congestion. And yes, they offer safety and efficiency. You'll less likely get hit in such an intersection, and they are very efficient. You can save gas and time that way.
Well, we definitely want to cut down on traffic accidents, not just between cars and scooters and cars, but people and scooters and cars. So that's all really good. Now, our last vocabulary word here is efficiency, as Tom was talking about it. It's just being really effective. Productivity is a nice synonym. And you're just not wasting time if something's efficient. Efficient is the adjective form. Of course, here we have the noun form, efficiency. For example, our company is really focusing this year on efficiency and getting things done faster with less time. Okay, guys, we're out of time. We're going to listen to our Chinese teacher one more time, and then we'll be back.
接着看第四题，前一句，从环境角度来看，圆环具有显著优势。第四题题干 continuous movement means 这个部分，持续行进意味着比较少的油耗、空格，还有比较低的碳排。那油耗和低碳排在逻辑上有什么关联呢？当然是因果关系。油耗低，那碳排呢就会降低。因此，我们选 A resulting in 造成导致。那因为省略关系代名词 which， 那这个关系代名词 which 它代替的是前面所说的油耗降低哦。那动词呢要用现在分词形成分词构句。第四题答案选 A。那再来，请同学看到第五题，在某些案例当中，圆环已经显示可以减少高达 30% 的燃油用量，对于有心减少环境空格的城市是非常好的选择。那因为空格前面是及物动词 reduce， 要有名词当受词。考量前后文意，我们选 F footprint 足迹。那第5题的答案呢，就选 F。再来看到第6题，请看第3段。有些圆环已经成为著名的地标空格，它们实用的交通功能。圆环成为地标，当然是指这种交通设施的观光价值很高。我们可以看出，这里作者是拿2件事来比，圆环的观光价值，还有它们的交通运输功能。那因为省略 and 对的连接词，动词要用现在分词 VING 形成分词构句，所以第6题选 I going beyond。那再来看到第7题，前面句子是圆环变城市地标的实际例子，巴黎的戴高乐广场。接着呢是题干，这个空格圆形路口围绕着热门的旅游景点凯旋门，而且连接12条大道。空格呢可以填形容词或者分词，用来修饰后方的名词片语 circular intersection。那所以第7题选 B spectacular 壮观的。再来看到第8题，前面句子提到另一个知名圆环是位在英国伦敦的皮卡迪利圆环。那虽然比较小，但是呢灯光很明亮，而且呢城市生活是丰富多彩啊，所以呢这个圆环也很闻名。接着是第8题题干，这些圆环不仅是交通解决方案，也是文化和空格的象征。那和前面第1题一样，因为 and 是对的连接词，前后连接同样词性的词语，前面的 cultural 是形容词，后面呢也必须要是形容词，而且要能修饰 symbol 象征。好，所以这个第8题我们选 D historical 历史的。再来紧接着第9题，请看第4段，空格在及物动词 cause 引发之后，可见空格应该填名词作为受词，考量前后文意，所以我们答案选 E confusion。 好，最后第10题，不定词 to 之后要用原形动词，空格填入 H cross 穿越，意思是圆环还有一项缺点，行人也可能发现圆环比较难以安全穿越，所以第10题答案选 H。 以上就是我们针对文意选填所做的解题，谢谢大家， See you next time。
All right, everybody, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and please drive carefully out there. It can be quite dangerous. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.